for Beatles Fans returns to Chicago at the Hyatt Regency O'Hare in Rosemont. Friday, Saturday, Sunday this weekend. You can go to thefest.com for more information. I mentioned before the news, we had the opportunity to talk to a number of musicians who are there talking about their experience with Beatles and Beatles music, including Patty Boyd, she was married to George Harrison and Eric Clapton. She'll be there this weekend. But this name caught my eye. Our next guest, Gregg Bissonette, is one of the most versatile drummers in the business. Since 2008, he's been a member of the All-Star Band with his drumming hero, Ringo Starr. He'll be jamming all weekend with Liverpool, which is a great band, and talking about his experiences of being on tour with Ringo Starr. Gregg has played bass with drums with David Lee Roth, James Taylor, Santana. He started out with my favorite, the legendary Maynard Ferguson. He's played with ELO, Spinal Tap, Joe Satriani, and others. His brother, Matt Bissonette, bassist, who he collaborates with often, just finished Elton's farewell tour. Let's welcome Gregg Bissonette for a quick discussion here on the Big 89. Gregg, how are you, sir?
Oh, John, I'm doing great. What a great introduction. Thank you.
I will have to find just a quick little excerpt. Maybe we'll have it at the conclusion of the interview of Bebop Buffet, which you recorded in 1983, you and your brother both with the boss, Maynard Ferguson.
Oh, we sure did. That was up at the Great American Music Hall in San Francisco. What a fun album that was.
I want to get back to him, time permitting. But first, what's it like to tour with Ringo Starr? What is he like as a collaborator? What is he like as a band leader?
It is just, I know it's an overused term, but it's a dream come true. When my brother and I, when I was 7 and Matt was 5, our dad was playing a gig in downtown Detroit at the Ambassador Hotel with his wedding band. And he came out and there were thousands of screaming teenagers and girls. And he said, "What's going on?" And the guy said, "The Beatles are staying upstairs." And my dad scored a 6-ticket, my brother and my dad and I. My sister stayed home with my mom. She was too young. But we went and saw the Beatles at Olympia Hockey Arena in Detroit where the Red Wings played. And I look over every day and he's 5 feet away and there he is, Ringo. Because all I could think about when I was 7 as a huge Beatle fan who'd already seen Hard Day's Night and was just so into it, and the Ed Sullivan Show is, man, that's Ringo right there, because all I could think about at Olympia was, I'm in the same room with these four guys, and he's the greatest friend, not just the greatest drummer, my favorite drummer. I have a YouTube channel, if anybody can go to it. It's at Gregg, Gregg, Drums, Drums, and I just yesterday released why Ringo is my favorite drummer. It's a 20-minute YouTube video. Go on YouTube and check that out. He's got the swing, John. He always plays the right parts for the songs. He's got that swing, and he's just got amazing tempo and groove, but he's the greatest guy. He says peace and love, but he means it. He lives peace and love.
Do you actually play a trumpet duet with Ringo on the show?
Well, thanks for asking. Yeah, when we do Yellow Submarine, I was like you, but I'm not as good as you. I could play maybe up to a high D, maybe screech out an E. Anything more than 4 sharps or 4 flats, I'm not very good. And I can't improvise, but besides that, I'm extraordinarily mediocre. But I said, "Hey, Ringo, I could play in Yellow Submarine." And so I started playing it, and he says, because it's only bass drum there, and he says, "Can you do it standing up?" I said, "Well, it's only bass drum. Let me try." So I stood up and did it. And so I decided to get an old horn. I didn't want to paint my chrome silver flare that King, but I bought a cheap horn at a music shop and had my buddy spray paint it with Armor All yellow paint for Yellow Submarine. So that is my Yellow Submarine trumpet. You can go on YouTube and see that too.
I have a list of guys that you worked with here, just a short list here. David Lee Roth, obviously, Toto, Santana, Electric Light Orchestra, Ringo Starr we've mentioned. I like the album that you did with your brother, Warning Will Robinson. I thought that was great. You were on the TV show Friends, obviously. Out of everybody you worked with, who taught you the most, Gregg Bissonette?
Who taught me the most? Well, I'd have to say Ringo, because, Ringo, my brother and I both went to North Texas, and you know that school, John. It's a great big band jazz school, and I graduated with a music education degree, and I take a lot of drum lessons. I give a lot of drum lessons, but I take a lot of drum lessons. But there's certain inherent things that Ringo does that they don't teach in music school. For instance, and hopefully many fans know, that the verse of a song is usually a little quieter than, say, the B section or the chorus. The chorus is usually a step up in volume, and then you kick it back down for the verse. Ringo, in layman terms, he plays in the middle of his snare drum on most of the verses, and he plays rim shots on the chorus. They never taught us that in music school. He usually goes to the bell of the cymbal on the choruses, and he's just got this swing. Instead of looking at music, because none of the Beatles read music notes, he wants lyrics because he wants to make sure he never gets in the way.
Why did they dump Pete Best, the guy that Ringo Starr replaced? Wasn't he a good player? Do we know?
I don't want to get into that kind of stuff. It's not my scene. All I know is that Ringo is my favorite drummer, and the Beatles would not sound the same without Ringo, because he just adds so much, and he never overplays, and he gave it the swing. And if you listen to Paul, go on YouTube and listen to Paul talk about Ringo. Once he sat in at the Cavern Club, Paul looked over at John and George, and they went, this is the way it's supposed to sound. So anybody that ever gives any grief, like, he's not the most amazing drummer, they're wrong. They're just uneducated about what it really takes to be in a band and be a song drummer.
Yeah.
A lot of drummers can go all over the place, but song drumming is a whole other art.
Well, it's like, see, back to Maynard Ferguson, my hero, and the guy that you started with, and you and your brother both in that band that cut from 1983, the Bebop Buffet. It's a great illustration. A lot of trumpet players can play high, but not in tune and not in time.
Yes, and Maynard Ferguson could also solo great and melodically on a flugelhorn. Mm-hmm. And you're right, in tune and in time.
Yeah. Two of my buddies wanted me to say hello to you. David C. Norman, I know you've been on his album. He's a great trumpet player.
What a trumpet player. Yeah, I played on his stuff. He's great.
And Mike Arturia, my drummer friend and partner in crime for many, many years here in Chicago as my band leader.
Yeah, what a great drummer. Loving Spoonful, so many things. And what an educator. I love teaching. My degree was music ed, and Mike is a great teacher. He has a music school as well, and he's a great drummer, great guy.
Well, Gregg, continued success. I admire you and your brother a great deal. Your brother just finished with Elton John, and you guys are going to do another album, I hope?
Oh, yeah, we're always recording stuff. Matt, he's the kind of guy that when he has a day off, he's not, wasting it. He's writing songs, and he's my favorite songwriter, my favorite bass player. So we'll be doing more recording for our own stuff very soon. We also have a band called the Redcoats, which is kind of like Beatles meets Weather Report.
Okay. Well, you have my number. Let me know if I can help you out this weekend at all.
Hey, thank you, John. I'll look forward to seeing you in Chicago. What a fun weekend we're going to have. And that band, Liverpool, that you mentioned, they are top-notch. What an honor to sit in with Drew and the guys.
I will no longer say that Ringo Starr is the luckiest drummer in musical history.
Oh, you better not. Those are fighting words, man. He's my favorite drummer of all time, and I wish I had his natural swing.
Okay. Who's better? Both guys had natural swings, and they were somewhat unorthodox, especially for the bands they're in. Ringo Starr or Charlie Watts?
Well, you can't say better. You can't say what's a better, pizza, right? People say, well, Chicago, New York. No, you can't say what's better. It's like some people like Honky Tonk Woman more than they like I Call Your Name. But for my taste, I just happen to like Ringo's the most. I love Charlie. I met him. What a gentleman. What a great drummer. And he's got a great swing, too. But and they were really good friends, Ringo and Charlie. I've got a great photo of them here I'm looking at right now together. But both fantastic drummers. But my favorite of anybody is Ringo Starr.
Gregg Bissonette, enjoy L.A. We'll see you here this weekend in Chicago. Appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, John. Take care.
Hang on. Don't hang up, because I want you to hear a little excerpt from 1983, so just hang on right there. The Fest for Beatles Fans returns to Chicago, Hyatt Regency O'Hare in Rosemont Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Go to thefest.com.